Hey, Planeswalkers, it's Kamigawa time. Excited to bring you a new fresh cut here on the meta and the tier list for February, hot out of the gates. So thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Flip me a like, smash the subscribe because we got a lot here going on today and a great way to stay in touch and support the channel. So if you have a question or comment, let me know down below. Love to hear from you. Feel free to hop on the Discord server. In the details, you will find today's timestamps where I will break down best of one and best of three here for historic on Magic the Gathering Arena, all about the new set Kamigawa. Hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. And we'll talk through things here in that style today. With that, let's go ahead and touch on a couple things first. One of the biggest pieces is if you do follow the channel already, you can take a look at the cut that we just did because it's important to always say where we are at, where we're going. I truly believe in that. And a lot of times those decks carry over in terms of what's happening. Also very, very particular to historic. What is good at the current meta typically tends to be the same and tends to be fairly steady for the most part. So I always like to call that out. And you can take a look at myself here struggling to see and at the latest, I guess, a great time when I'm catching myself blinking. But I just want to call that out for you to go ahead and take a look. So we see mono red aggro and Selesnya Company in terms of best of one. So that's a good segue into what we have going on here today for historic best of one. And we've certainly seen some changes in terms of what's happening and excited to cover off on some key changes to the meta as well. So certainly we've talked about this actually in the Discord server and has led to some very interesting discussions nonetheless, which is what we're talking about here today. So in terms of best of one, we got Selesnya, and again, at an aggregate, we'll hone into some of the more competitive scene here in a second. Selesnya Heliod or Squirrel Twin. We got Selesnya Enchantress, Mono Red Aggro, Azorius Auras, Mono Green Elves, Simic Merfolk, and Izzet Phoenix. These are all the key decks. And when we look at this meta, very impressive. We see Selesnya Company jumping and Selesnya Heliod jumping here. Actually, in terms of what's happening. And very, very powerful that people are going back to that in terms of what's happening in a very, very powerful deck prior to what we saw with mono red aggro there. So we'll check if there's been any changes to the list. So far, not so much here in terms of best of one, running at a healthy 66% though, if you want to run that list, which is pretty powerful. Here is a new pickup. Selesnya Enchantress. Now it's been around. It's got the 9 lives, Solemnity, players can't gain counter stuff going on as well. Certainly some other pickups there that you can add in, like this one, Weaver of Harmony, and a host of other things like Jukai Naturalist as well from the new Kamigawa set here. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that one as that evolves. Mono red aggro has kind of dropped a little bit out of favor. You can see the list isn't running as well. This one's pulled back in Embercleave. Previously, it wasn't running Embercleave with the last version, but something to pay attention to there. Azorius Auras has a lot of changes. This one not doing super well in the current meta, but something that we've talked about particular in the Discord server. So you don't see the updated list here, but something that we're definitely going to want to keep an eye on and pay attention to. The Mono Green Elves has been very popular. It's always been a strong deck. Again, different variations here in terms of what you can be running and playing. Again, very popular. Simic Merfolk really pushing into the meta a lot more. No big pickups or changes really in terms of what's came so far from Kamigawa, but we'll keep an eye on that. And then we have our favorite Izzet Phoenix. Again, a very tried and true and also popular deck in this historic meta. So I'd say that's kind of the biggest changes. We've really came off that mono red aggro. We got Selesnya Enchantress. The Enchantress decks picked up some new ones. Again, Azorius Auras, I think there's definitely some new stuff there as well when we look at what's happening with some of the new cards from Kamigawa, particularly a lot of the enchantment stuff. Let's move over to the competitive scene. Competitive scene's looking to be the same in terms of what we have. We'll continue to move around here. We get into Diamond. We got Azorius Auras doing much better within that meta. Again, here's the list that we have, but nothing in particular from the new stuff. Again, mono red aggro being very, very heavily played up there at that more competitive space. Again, why Azorius Auras does well in terms of a counter there, green elves and so forth. And then if we go to Mythic, we see mono red aggro. So again, a very powerful deck, but wanted to show those differences. Next, best of 3. Here again, we keep these things in terms of considerations and what's happening. We can see the best of 3 meta kind of reflecting similar pieces with Azorius Control, Azorius Auras doing a little bit better there in terms of best of 3. We see everything else kind of dropping down in terms of play. Is it Phoenix really doing well in terms of win rates? It was doing well before. Azorius Auras not doing as well. So that's important to pay attention to. Again, we'll drill into the more competitive space. Did we get any changes or pickups there? Not really for Phoenix. Let's see if we got anything for Auras. None in particular here for these versions that we have. But again, I would highly suggest paying attention and keep an eye out. We got Golgari Food here. Again, being similar in terms of what was going on. Nothing different there. Just a little bit different variation. Rakdos Arcanus being the same as well. All right. Then let's go ahead and look at Azorius Control. Certainly there's some things here in this space. It's more picked up on the Alchemy cards. So that's an important piece to keep in mind. Now, again, we've seen in the other variants here, other stuff that's crept into. So again, here you see wedding announcement. Other things that have crept into this deck type. Again, Lotus Field's been a big one from some of the last renditions that's happened that you want to keep an eye on as well. Simic Merfolk, don't expect any changes here. Pretty standard, no key deck, unfortunately, there in terms of the data. 5-color Niv. We're not really picking up anything in particular off this, but can we? Absolutely. So just pay attention to what's going on because those things always make a difference. Last but not least, Jeskai Control. Kind of similar story, but this is more so the Jeskai Lotus stuff as well. Very, very popular. Obviously used to be one of the key major ones. We'll let that continue to load and move on. So as we move to the more competitive scene, here's what we got in Platinum. Then we get to Diamond. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and take a look at Mythic. Azorius Control at 67%. Heavily, highly played in terms of everything that is happening. And like I said, important to follow. So that is our best of 3 snapshot there for you in Historic. And then when we move over and take a look at what was happening here, boom. Here again. There we go. We have that Azorius Auras like we talked about. That is it Phoenix again as well, being some of those more powerful lists. So that is Kamigawa for you here in a snapshot, and certainly important for us to pay attention to. We'll keep an eye on this as things evolve here in the Historic meta and tier list scene. But I want to get this to you hot off the press because I always think it's important as competitive players for us to quickly adjust, quickly navigate all things that are going on here. So appreciate you tuning in. Flip me that like, smash the subscribe, and appreciate that support as always. Other great ways to support the channel and stay up to date on all things happening. If you got a question, if you got a comment or some feedback, let me know. Love to hear from you. Hop in the Discord server. On top of that, Planeswalkers, stay safe. You take care. We'll see you again soon. Until next time, Mythras out.